Hey everyone, welcome back to Yousaf Reacts. Today, we're diving into a classic superhero flick that has sparked a lot of conversations over the years. Yes, we're talking about Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Released in 1987, this film is often remembered for its ambitious storyline and its, unique execution. Let's take a closer look. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace is the fourth installment in the Superman film series, starring Christopher Reeve as the titular hero. Directed by Sidney J. Furie, the movie had a lot riding on it, especially with Reeve taking a significant role in the story's development. But did it live up to the hype? Let's find out. First, a quick summary of the plot. Superman decides to take on the issue of nuclear disarmament after being inspired by a heartfelt letter from a young boy. In an effort to rid the world of nuclear weapons, he gathers them all and hurls them into the sun. However, his arch-nemesis Lex Luthor, played once again by Hackman, has other plans. Luthor creates a new villain, Nuclear Man, from Superman's DNA and a nuclear warhead, leading to an epic showdown. The film tackles some pretty heavy themes, like global politics and the ethics of absolute power. But despite its noble intentions, Superman IV often stumbles in its execution. Let's break down what worked and what didn't, starting with the positives. Christopher Reeve delivers a solid performance, as always, embodying the hope and integrity of Superman. His dedication to the character and his influence on the film's message about peace and disarmament are commendable. Hackman also brings his usual charisma to the role of Lex Luthor, making for some entertaining moments. Now, onto the not-so-great parts. Unfortunately, the film's budget constraints are painfully obvious. The special effects, which were groundbreaking in earlier Superman films, look noticeably cheap and outdated here. The fight scenes, especially between Superman and Nuclear Man, often come off as laughable rather than epic. The script and pacing are also problematic. The storyline feels rushed and disjointed, and many scenes that could have added depth to the narrative were either cut or poorly executed. The character of Nuclear Man, despite having an interesting concept, falls flat due to weak development and a lack of screen presence. In the end, Superman IV is a mixed bag. It has heart and good intentions, but it ultimately falls short due to its execution and budget limitations. It's a fascinating piece of superhero cinema history, showing both the potential and pitfalls of the genre. The Man of Steel crusades for nuclear disarmament and meets Lex Luthor's latest creation, Nuclear Man. Superman does a lot in his newest adventure. Arch-villain Lex Luthor, determined to make the world safe for nuclear arms merchants, creates a new being to challenge the Man of Steel, the radiation-charged Nuclear Man. The two super-powered FOs clash in an explosive screen extravaganza that sees Superman save the Statue of Liberty, repulse a volcanic eruption of Mount Etna, rebuild the demolished Great Wall of China, and perform many more spectacular feats. Lex Luthor steals a hair of Superman's head from a museum and uses it to create Nuclear Man, an android that gets energy from the sun. His purpose, of course, is to use him as a weapon to kill Superman, so that Luthor will be free to realize his criminal plans. The film begins at a Russian space station where a cosmonaut is working outside, singing Frank Sinatra songs in Russian. A piece of space debris flies into the space station, spinning it out of control and sending the cosmonaut into deep space. The Russians are saved, however, when Superman Christopher Reeve flies to the rescue. First putting the space station back into its orbit and then rescuing the cosmonaut. In Smallville, Superman aka Clark Kent returns to the old Kent farm, which is being put up for sale. In the barn, Clark listens to a message from his Kryptonian mother, Susanna York, which explains that the green crystal he holds is the very last source of Kryptonian energy and that he should use it wisely. At that point, a car arrives at the farm and Clark puts the crystal in his pocket. A realtor named Hornsby Don Fellows greets Clark with the news that a big company wishes to buy the land and scene, much to Clark's dismay. Refusing to sell to anyone uninterested in the farm itself, Clark then returns to Metropolis. On the subway, Lois Lane Margot Kidder is practicing her French for an upcoming trip. Clark, just behind, misses the train and waits on the platform. The train driver suffers an apparent heart attack and causes the vehicle to pick up speed, hurtling past the next station. Clark hears the panic from the train and steps into a nearby phone booth, where he changes into Superman. Superman then flies past the train and gets ahead of it, stepping on the tracks to stop the train's power. While the emergency team attend to the driver, Superman informs the public that the subway is still the safest and most reliable form of transport and then flies away. At the Daily Planet, Clark arrives to discover that a media mogul named David Warfield Sam Wanamaker and his daughter Lacey Mariel Hemingway are to take over the newspaper, with plans to turn it into a sleazy tabloid. Clark's outspoken opinions on delivering the truth is noticed by Lacey, who develops a liking for him. Meanwhile, Lois' trip is cancelled and editor Perry White Jackie Cooper heads off to the bank to try and get funds to buy back his newspaper. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor Gene Hackman is broken out of jail yet again, this time by his young nephew Lenny John Cryer, who Lex refers to as the Dutch elm disease of his family tree. His first plan on breaking out of prison is to destroy Superman, and his first port of call is the museum, where a strand of Superman's hair supports a massive ball of steel. After the museum closes, Lex steals the strand of hair. Elsewhere, peace talks break down between the world's superpowers and the U.S. President Robert Beatty appears on TV to say that America strives to become second to none in the nuclear arms race. A schoolboy named Jeremy Damian McClawern writes a letter to Superman, asking him to do something about the crisis, and sends it to the Daily Planet. Superman is moved by the letter but cannot intervene in global politics, and when he seeks guidance from the Kryptonian elders at the Fortress of Solitude, they encourage him to move on to another planet where war is forgotten. But Superman decides that Earth is his home and addresses the UN, with the world's press in attendance. He proposes to do what no one else can, or will, which is to rid the world of all nuclear weapons. Following a tremendous applause, the superpowers all begin to launch their missiles into space, where Superman collects them in a gigantic net. The net is sent flying into the sun by Superman, destroying the missiles safely. At Lex Luthor's penthouse, a trio of arms dealers hear Luthor's plan to make a fortune ray, arming the world and to get rid of Superman, which involves creating a clone with the same deadly powers. Using protoplasm grown from Superman's hair strand, Lex infiltrates a missile compound and attaches the protoplasm to the last remaining missile to be launched. Superman again catches the missile and throws it into the sun. Immediately, a life form emerges from the fiery star and grows rapidly into a full-grown man. Crackling with power, the nuclear man Mark Pillow flies to Metropolis. Lex is impressed, not by Nuclear Man's power, but his own intelligence. Nuclear Man, however, has one major flaw: his power is drawn from the sun, and when he is not in direct sunlight he becomes incapacitated. Meanwhile, at Lacey's apartment, Clark and Lois attend a double date, with Clark having to be both himself, who Lacey is attracted to, and Superman, who Lois still has feelings for. The dinner is interrupted when Lex transmits a supersonic message to Superman, leading him to his penthouse. Just after arriving, Superman is confronted by his new enemy, Nuclear Man. The pair become locked in battle, as Nuclear Man leads his enemy around the world, setting off a volcano in Italy and destroying the Great Wall of China. Finally, Nuclear Man takes the Statue of Liberty and drops it over Metropolis. Superman catches it just in time, but leaves him vulnerable to Nuclear Man, who scratches him with his radioactive nails. Meanwhile, at Lacey's apartment, Clark and Lois attend a double date, with Clark having to be both himself, who Lacey is attracted to, and Superman, who Lois still has feelings for. The dinner is interrupted when Lex transmits a supersonic message to Superman, leading him to his penthouse. Just after arriving, Superman is confronted by his new enemy, Nuclear Man. The pair become locked in battle, as Nuclear Man leads his enemy around the world, setting off a volcano in Italy and destroying the Great Wall of China. Finally, Nuclear Man takes the Statue of Liberty and drops it over Metropolis. Superman catches it just in time, but leaves him vulnerable to Nuclear Man, who scratches him with his radioactive nails. Superman, severely injured, manages to replace the Statue of Liberty but is kicked into sky, with only his cape left flapping in the wind. Presumed dead by everyone except Lois, Superman or Clark appears to be suffering some sort of rapid aging and takes the green crystal that he pocketed earlier. With Superman out of the action, Lex begins raking in the money from his arms deals, while Nuclear Man becomes obsessed with Lacey Warfield after seeing her picture. On the streets of Metropolis, Nuclear Man wreaks havoc searching for Lacey. Through the smoke emerges a fully recovered Superman who lures him into an elevator and manages to cut off the sunlight, causing Nuclear Man to shut down. The Man of Steel FLIs the elevator into space and dumps it on the moon's surface. But a crack in the door allows Nuclear Man to catch the sun's rays, starting a fight on the lunar surface. During the battle, Superman is buried in the ground while Nuclear Man finds Lacey at the Daily Planet and FLIs her out towards deep space. Superman climbs out of the ground and manages to save Lacey by causing an eclipse, allowing him to then deal with Nuclear Man by dropping him into a nuclear reactor. Back at the Daily Planet, Perry White has managed to secure funds at the bank and buys back control of the newspaper. Superman takes Lenny to a boy's home and his uncle Lex Luthor back to prison, where the film ends. So, should you watch Superman IV? If you're a die-hard Superman fan or love 80-second superhero movies, it's worth a watch for its historical value and to see Reeve's final performance as the Man of Steel. Otherwise, it might not hold up to modern expectations. That's all for today's review. What did you think of Superman IV? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more movie reviews and superhero content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.